Hello, good evening. Good evening, brothers and sisters, families, friends. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I am so happy that you could join us. Thank you for being part of this show. Today is May 3, and we are looking at episode 14. And God has been faithful since we started this in October. And I'm so delighted to have you join me on the show tonight. My name is PMK, Pastor Mary Christilere, and you can call me PMK. And I am your host on this show tonight. As always, I am so glad that you can join us. Thank you for being part of this show always and every time. And it's such a great joy that we're able to do this. And I want to say happy new month to everyone who is able to join us today. A happy new month. And I'm praying that May will bring something beautiful and something wonderful into your lives, into your families, in the name of Jesus. And so I want to officially welcome every one of you who are part of this show who are already in house, and those who will also be part of the show probably will join as the show progresses, or who will watch the recorded version. I want to say a big thank you, and thank you for always being there, part of the show. And if this is your first time of being part of this show, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say welcome. Thank you for being part of this show. And I assure you are in for an amazing time together with us. I assure you that you're here to have your thoughts provoked. You're here to have the eyes of your understanding enlightened. You're here to acquire knowledge and to be a better version for yourself. If this is your first time of joining, as always, I want to welcome you officially. And for those who have always been part of this show, I want to say thank you for never allowing me to do this alone. Because what is Chat with PMK without the necessary audience to participate and to be part of this show? And already in the house today, I have my regular audience, part of my audience. I have Olumide Akinyoju. Thank you for being part of this show as always. And thank you, Brian Ajao, thank you for being part of this show. And if this is your first time, as we normally do in the Chat with PMK way, please put in your comment section and say, this is my first time on this show. And if this is not your first time, we'll still like to know who you are. So tell us your name, tell us where you're joining us from. It's also such a joy to see a lot of people join from all over the world because of the internet, because of the opportunity to do things virtually. More people get to enjoy what God wants to do with them. And so distance is not a barrier in today's world, right? So if this is your first time, please put on the comment section and let us welcome you. And if you have been part of this show for a while and this is not your first time, please also let us know where you're joining us from: Lagos, Nigeria, from the United Kingdom, from the United States, from Canada, from Australia, wherever you are. Please let us know you are here and we'll be glad to welcome you. So let's welcome ourselves for one more minute. For those who are just joining for the very first time, I want to say that this is Chat with PMK. It's a Christian virtual show that has the mandate to promote faith-based discussions, educate viewers, foster community, address contemporary and controversial issues, encourage engagement, support personal growth, and engaging our various guests and audience with thought-provoking conversation. And that's why we are here. It's purely a Christian virtual show set with a mandate to promote faith-based conversation, have discussions around variety of topics. For a while now, we've been looking at different topics around marriage, but today we'll be looking at a very practical that is very relevant, whether you are a professional starting out to become a professional, whether you are just at the beginning of your career ladder, or you are in the middle, or you're towards the end of your ladder. We will look at some of the questions and some of the issues that are relevant to us, which is very dear to my heart. Before progressing, I'd like to encourage you to please reach out to someone via your text message, your broadcast message, your social media platforms and let them know that we are now live. And then let us have this enriching conversation that God has planned that we will have today. Let us do that and see how far we can push this. So please reach out to someone. Take the next couple of seconds to just reach out to 5 or 10 people in your contact and say, Chat with PMK is live and the conversation is about to get very, very interesting. Reach out to someone, tag someone, put on your status, on your social media, and just tell them Chat with PMK is now live and we are set to have a swell time together. We are set to have a set time together. While we're expecting more people to join us, I have a very amazing guest on the show with me tonight. And I'm going to be bringing her up shortly onto the stage with me. And before I introduce her properly, I just want her to say 1 or 2 words or a sentence to let the people hear her amazing voice before I do a proper introduction. Over to you, ma'am. Let's hear that
Good,
beautiful
eve-
voice from the audience.
Good evening, everybody, and it's my pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm looking forward to a very productive and fruitful conversation with you all. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show, ma'am. And we're so glad we're the one that is blessed and glad to have you with us today. Thank you for being part of the show. And so while we're getting set to start so that we can have enough time to have an engaging session. And I really do hope wherever you are, whether in your houses or in your car or in your shop or in your office or wherever you are or just on your way home, I hope that you are neatly and comfortably tucked in, to have that engaging session. I am talking, I am comfortable. I have my cup here, as usual, my chat with PMK cup with my drink inside to quench my thirst as the day progresses. So I hope you have your drink, your water, your coffee, your tea, to get well settled in so that we can sit back and have this engaging conversation. Aside that, I also hope that you have your writing pad that will help you, take notes, those things that you will, those secret, those impactful words that you will have today. So without wasting time, I want to properly introduce our guest on the show tonight. And it's such a privilege for me to have her here because, guys, she is loaded. She's loaded and she's well prepared. She's not just a believer, but she knows an onion. She knows her onions. She has the necessary skills, and the words and the knowledge and the experience to take us through this particular topic. So on this show with me tonight, we'll be diving into a very super practical and timely topic. And the topic is acquiring and developing marketable and employability skills. Acquiring and developing marketable and employability skills. So whether you are job hunting, you're looking for a job or you want to change your job or you're trying to grow in your current role or you're just feeling stuck where you are, we are here to help you today. Myself and my guests tonight, we're here to help you with faith and the wisdom and experience that comes with this partnership tonight. So joining me today is Mrs. Abiola Orojo, a seasoned HR professional and a fellow believer in Christ. She is an executive coach and HR specialist with over 28 years of corporate experience, including 15 years including 15 years in senior management roles. She is dedicated to developing leaders and driving impactful career growth through tailored coaching and strategic HR expertise. She has extensive expertise in strategic HR, talent management, performance management, employee engagement. She is the director of the Training for Coach Masters Academy, a global organization renowned for providing approved ICF. ICF is International Coaching Federation, certified coach training programs where she trains others to be coaches. She has facilitated several face-to-face coach certification trainings in Uganda and Nigeria and to a global audience virtually. She has also facilitated trainings in various aspects of leadership and team effectiveness, communication, and human related topics for multinationals and local organizations in Nigeria. She is a mentor coach and has mentored over 200 students to achieve ICF certification. As an ICF Master Certified Coach with an advanced team coaching certification, her coaching focuses on supporting C-suites, senior and middle management professionals across sectors like oil and gas, financial services, public sector, and international development to unlock their full potential, which is where I met her. She holds an MBA, a BA economics, a BA honorable in economics, and is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, FCA. She is my professional colleague. She is the CEO and the lead coach of Alex and Jefferson Coaching Consulting Limited, a company she set up 10 years ago to cater for the human resource consulting and coaching needs of organization. Ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, can you welcome with me to the show Mrs. Abiola Orojo, the very first time on Chat with PMK? You are very much welcome. Please drop on your emoji, drop your emoji in your comment section, ladies and gentlemen, and let us welcome our coach on today's show and let us make her feel very welcome on the show today. Madam, you are welcome to Chat with PMK episode 14. We are glad to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to
All
be
right,
here.
thank you, man. Let's dive right into the show tonight so we don't waste time. We can have enough time to interrogate this topic. So, like I said earlier, we're looking at the topic acquiring and developing marketable and employability skill. And why is this topic very dear to my heart? You know, in Nigeria today, sometimes you hear comments, you hear a newspaper comment or review, or you hear in the public space where they say a lot of people go to school today, but they hardly have employability and marketable skills. That a lot of people graduate from school, and employers are finding it difficult to get the appropriate human capital necessary in their organization. So to kickstart the conversation tonight, I want to ask you, what are marketable or employability skills, and why are they so important to be possessed? That will be our starting point of conversation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. You know, gone are the days where we just feel that we go to the university, we get our degree, a master's, getting a job, and being employable is it's a different ball game. It is something that you have to be deliberate about and intentional about. It's not about you just starting after you finish your degree before you start thinking about employability. That's just to lay the foundation. So that's the mistake the youths of today are making. Most of the time you see them focusing just on their degree. Half of the other time they are playing around. They are not really looking at how they can harness employable skills even before they get into university or when they're in university, and by the time they graduate, they are really so solid in terms of having those skills. So what are employability skills? These are skills that make you desirable to employers. They are mostly soft skills. They are skills that are transferable. That is, you can build those skills in such a way that they can be used in any setting. If you transfer yourself from an oil and gas company to a manufacturing company, you can still use those skills. So they are different from technical skills. So the mistake we do is we want to just be experts in the technical aspects, being specialists in technical aspects of our jobs. but really the transferable skills are really more important. This is what the employers are looking for. A lot of people have gone to university, a lot of people have degrees, a lot of people have the technical expertise, but what really stands you out is those are your employability skills. Now, your employability skills really are the softer skills. They relate to, number one, your mindset. Do you have a learning mindset, a growth mindset? That is number one, very key. It also speaks to what you're good at, your personality, the way you carry yourself, the way you relate. So, and this can be developed even if you don't have them. You can develop them. There are skills that are core to what would in the workplace would be attractive to the employer. Now, when we talk about skills, we are not talking about the experience per se, but what we are looking at is how good you are at doing some things. Either you have practiced them over time and it become part and parcel of you. Example are things like communication. How do you communicate? How do you empathize? Do you have critical thinking skills, time management skills, leadership skills, resilience, creativity? So you can see that some of these things, you don't really sit down and study them as a course. You might do them in short courses, but you must be able to exhibit them on your role on the jobs. And that's why in your CV, and I want to talk to that, in CVs, most people concentrate on the technical aspect. I have a degree in this particular course, and I did this on my project in the university, and this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. They leave out the transferable skills. They don't include that in selling themselves. What really sells your CV? Yes, your technical skills, but more so your transferable employability skills.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Well said. So basically, we're saying what you've said is that when it comes to having a progressive career or being able to break into your career of your choice, your technical skills are not enough. You have to be very intentional in getting this marketable and employability skill. And I want to take it back. Thankfully, both of us are believers, are Christians. And I want us to really talk about this with our fellow believers on this call. Because a lot of people believe that once they've gone to school, they have the necessary technical school, prayer will do the rest. Can we let our people know that yes, prayer is very important? I'm prayerful and I believe in prayer. But when it comes to the world of jobs, prayer is not enough. Can you speak to that in 1 minute?
Yes, even the Bible tells us that in Proverbs 22:29, it says that, do you see a man skilled in his work? It's a question. And he gave the answer. He said, he will stand before kings and he will not stand before obscure men. So what it is emphasizing is your skillfulness. It is more than just what you have studied, but how you show yourself up, how you appear, how you present yourself. It talked about the diligence in one's work. How are we showing our capability in various ways? And you see, what it's saying here is that we must be prepared to be able to showcase ourselves. Now, the mistake we make is we just rely on what we have studied and maybe the experience we have in our little task or job in the office. You have people who are in an organization where they put them is what they do. They don't explore other new ideas, creativity, they don't explore what's happening around them, they don't learn other areas that can give them opportunities beyond what they are doing. And that's the issue. So some people are on the job for 10 years doing the same thing. They now want to move to another job. They cannot sell themselves because they have not given themselves the opportunity to be skillful.
So true. So true. So true. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Well said. And I hope everyone in the house can hear this. So, whether, even if you are retired, please talk to your children, talk to the youth around you, talk to the professionals around you, counsel them the importance of this skill. So, from your HR perspective and from your experience, can you name the top three or maybe the top five employability skills in the world of work today? The top five. Let's talk to those ones.
One I think that cuts across is communication, and the reason is that the world is a global village. Things are changing. So apart from when you say communication skills, you're presenting yourself, maybe making presentations, or you're addressing people. That is part of it. But how do you relate with people located in countries across the globe? How do you manage diversity? How do you generation in an organization, in the workplace of today, we have 5 different generations there. We have the Gen Ys, the Gen Zs, the millennials. How do you understand what they require in the workplace? And even if you belong to that group, how do you relate with other categories of the generation? It is important to know that communication is key, because we need to know how to understand ourselves, how to relate with each other. Now, we have in the organization, in most workplaces now, we have the tech savvy generation. What they are looking for in the workplace is so different. How they want to be communicated to is so different. So on both ways, they have to understand that they're also working with millennials. They are working with Generation X, people who are straddled between the boomers and the millennials. So we need to understand, for you to survive in the workplace, you need to really know how to interact. That's the word I'm looking for. Interaction and being able to adapt to different situations in the workplace. How do you communicate? The next one is computer skills. We need anyone in this at this time that we're in that is not computer literate. Definitely, it cannot be employable. It doesn't have a transferable skill. Somebody who doesn't know how to use Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Excel, all the office platforms, then if you also cannot use social media, not social media for all the things that we see now, but social media for education, social media for marketing, social media for visibility, social media for value add for your organization. Then we're also talking about social skills and empathy. The world today, we have a lot of things happening at the same time, especially with the social media. You have people who are being bombarded with a lot of information. Some of them some people are able to assimilate those and take them and use them for good use. But some people, they go into depression because all that they see is just too much of a competition, too much of comparison, too much of seeing things that seem to be real that are impacting them. So how do we empathize? How do we have a way of helping those people, even in the workplace? Mental health is a lot of issue now, even in the workplace. How do you manage that? How are we aware of those things? Time management skills, also creativity skills. We need to be creative. We need to think out of the box. Now, resilience is also a skill. How do we withstand pressure? How do we adapt to new challenges? How do we manage situations in terms of that you have to multitask? A lot of employees, they just want to do one thing. They cannot multitask. Multitasking is an employable skill. You must be able to manage so many things at the same time. That is the world we are in now.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much. And I also think that one of the top skills in the corporate world today is conflict resolution skill.
Yes,
Because
problem
conflict will
solving.
happen. Gone are those, yes, gone are those days when you can talk anyhow when somebody offends you, or you can decide to, take a stance anyhow. The world has evolved, and it's a skill that must be developed. Yeah, problem solving, conflict resolution, all those skills together. Recently I came across someone. I don't want to give too much details. He's a Gen Z, and he had an issue, a misunderstanding in the office where he works, and he said, he spoke to the HR, and he said, HR, I don't want to work with any other person. Just put me in a role where I don't have to interact with anybody. And the HR said, that's never going to be possible. I mean, if you're going to work anywhere, there's no place where you're not going to interact with people. You just have to learn how to, resolve your problems, and then, resolve how to resolve your conflicts with your colleagues, because it's part of life, it's part of growth. We have diverse knowledge, diverse convictions, diverse stance, and all that. So these skills are very key, and I'm glad that you've been able to highlight most of them, that are top in the world today. Now, you've mentioned a lot of things, including mental health. And I'm sure somebody in the house is asking, okay, so they are mentioning all these skills. These are not things they teach us in school. And I don't have money to go to a proper school to acquire these skills. What are the cheapest or the quickest way or the easy way for people who probably are not financially privileged to go to a proper school, or to go to those areas where they teach this skill, where people can easily and quickly acquire some of these skills? Whether I'm a student and I'm thinking of my career in the future and I'm on this call, or I'm a parent and I'm looking at this, I don't even have enough money to properly pay for their education. Now you're talking of an employability skill. So what are the quickest way through which one can acquire this skill? What are the quickest way, on the cheapest one, easiest one?
Okay. So I think it's, as I said, I started with you having a learning mindset. A lot of our youths don't have him. You see them just playing around on their computer. What they're doing is not even to
And
improve
for them,
themselves. It's all,
yeah,
yes, it's not adding value. You can use your computer, your phone, to begin to add value to you.
yeah,
Now, the question is, we already have a lot of skills that is innate in us. We need to be able to evaluate that and say, what am I naturally good at? You need to reflect on those skills and say, what is my personality? What is it? Am I a good talker? Now, if you're not a good talker and you want to go into an organization and you want to be able to present yourself, then as maybe a worker in church, you join departments that will help you to bring that out. You look at committees or groups that will help you. I remember, I was telling somebody when she was in university, she seemed to be very quiet. I said, look, you need to look for something in university that will bring you out of your shell. Join a group, join a church group, join cells where you can present, you can talk, and you will see that whatever God has put in you will gradually develop and grow. So it's not rocket science. We just need to be intentional about it. We can develop ourselves to study. We can develop ourselves in the communities that we are in. We can take up internships just by working, taking holiday jobs. Take a holiday job. And when you take holiday job, number one, you are interacting with people. Number two, you are learning from a work life. You are seeing different characters. People will be pointing your own character to you. You'll be able to be more aware of who you are. That you are number one, not wasting time, and then you are productive by developing yourself. What you learn from working as an intern definitely would add up to your employability skill when you are writing your CV. So it's not about you going to a university or trying to pay so much to be employed, but even at home, the way you present yourself, the way you take up opportunities in families. You might have an elderly person. If you take time to nurture that person, that is a skill, empathy skill. If you are taking leadership in the home, looking after your junior ones, and you are taking decision, it's problem solving. You are making decisions. But some people go through university and they can't even make decisions on their own because they have not been exposed to it. They've not tried, and not that they can't do it, but they've been so shielded that those potentials they're not showing up. So the easiest way is to can study, use your phone. It has a lot of resources. So if you know areas that you need to improve on, do self-study, do research. You don't have to even pay Udemy or anything. Just Google it, and you can continue to learn. There are a lot of webinars. There are a lot of YouTube. It's all packed there. But what are we watching? That's the question. What are we listening to? What are we doing? So the mindset is continuous learning, continuous study, and setting out the time to have a vision of who you want to be in the workplace. Because if you don't know where you are going, then you would not know where to start.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. So to summarize, what you've said is that a lot of opportunities that are even unpaid, you don't have to pay for them. They can develop it, whether in-house practical experiences. For example, case in point, you're coaching your younger ones, you're supervising them, right? You're engaging them, you're directing and leading them, or internship, volunteering jobs. The problem with this, a lot of people in this generation, is that volunteering is gradually fading out because everything has to be financially motivated. Nobody wants to do anything that is free anymore. But volunteering will be a major way, a major source where you can actually develop some of these skills. So money shouldn't just be the focus, you know. Sometimes take advantage of this opportunity. Join the Sunday school department in your church, join the debate society or community in your school, and as you take up those opportunities, you are directly or indirectly developing some of these skills. You can put them on your CV. I've seen someone who put on her CV how she led in her church. It's just the way you couch it that matters. You may not say, oh, I was the house fellowship leader, but you can couch it somewhere and say, oh, I was a leader of a group of young people, who were doing so. You may take the religious connotation out of it. They still form part of how you acquire those skills. So thank you very much, Ma, for that thought, and we really appreciate it. So the question I want to ask is that, so now we've been talking about the top 5 skills and some of these skills. So how can we identify some of those skills that we have and the ones we need to develop? What are the means in which we can identify the ones that we have and the ones we don't have, so that we can begin to become more intentional, in acquiring this skill? That would be my next question to you.
Okay, they are free online. There are free personality profiling tools. They are free. It tells you who you are. It tells you what your attributes are. Sometimes they even tell you which type of jobs you're good at. So that gives you like a foundation as to uh, who am I? A third party, input on who you are. Then you have to decide where you want to go. In terms of where you want to go, you can also speak to somebody who can be a mentor. You can have a mentor who can guide you. Usually, mentoring is not being paid for. So you just need to get somebody who you see as a role model that can guide you. And then apart from that, you need to set your own personal goal. You need to have a vision of where you want to be and the attributes who you want to be as a as in your career. Because you don't just say, oh, I want to take a job. No, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? That should be your question before even starting the job. A lot of just want to get a job. No, I want this job, but in getting that job, I'm also looking at how I want to plan myself
Yeah,
in terms of
growth.
in transitioning into somebody in 5 years. And that will determine how you start now. It will determine how you are preparing. So it's important to know. The most important thing is for you to have that in mind and to set those realistic goals. We have online courses, free online courses, depending on the skills you want to how do you call it? You want to enhance. So take me for example. I've been coaching for the past 10 years, but I've been asking myself, what else will make me employable in my profession? So I told myself, you got to learn how to speak a foreign language. Then that makes me reach the market outside English speaking countries.
Fantastic.
That is what I mean by employability. So you need to have a vision of where you're going and who you want to be. I can just as well say, oh, I'm okay with just coaching in English. I need to coach in other languages. So I need to take up speaking other languages. That is an example of how you can make yourself employable.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. I want to say here that if you have any question, you can begin to drop them in the comment section and we will attend to them as we progress. You can drop your comments, your questions or your comments in the comment section. It's interesting that you talked about you personally, because I also believe that I believe there are some people on this platform who are actually, they have their own businesses, right? And they're thinking, but I'm not going to work for anybody. Why do I need employability skill? Why do I need acquire? Why do I need to acquire marketable skill? But you know that most of these skills, they are universal, whether you're working for someone or you're working for yourself. For example, if you have your business, how do you communicate with customer? You talk to some business owners, some people who have their own businesses, and they are very rude on the way they communicate with their customers. They're very rude in the way they talk to their people who are working for them, or the way they resolve issues with their colleagues or their contemporaries in the market space is so out of this world. And so I just want to pause here and say that what these skills we are discussing here is not just for people who are working for someone. It also applies to people who are working for themselves, just like our guest today on the show has said. So it's important that we know that God isn't expecting us to be mediocre in where we are. Even if you, wherever you are in your career, it's expected that you pursue excellence, because God is a God of excellence. If you are like our Father in heaven, we cannot be comfortable in a single place where we must continue to push forward. So now, coming back to the issue of excellence, I wanted to find out and ask you, how can Christian integrate the mindset of excellence personal development, skill building with their faith in Christ. How can Christians, believers, integrate all this together? Knowing that yes, I'm a person of faith, but these other aspects we're talking about, whether personal development, whether skill building, whether competitiveness, even in the workplace. A lot of Christians feel that, oh, I'm supposed to be humble, even in the marketplace. I must be humble. I cannot be competitive. I can just let them just know that I'm very humble. So how do we balance all this as Christians, looking at it from an HR perspective, from a believer who is at the top of our career as an HR consultant? Yeah.
So I'm going to put it in two perspectives. Faith is key. That's the bedrock of Christianity. So our faith is that we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. Now, once you have that at the back of your mind, then to be able to achieve that, you need to combine it with humility. Humility in the sense that it's humility in terms of learning. Humility to learn and to take opportunities when they arise. When you are humble to learn, when opportunities arise, you'll be ready to take them up. And it is based on the fact that you have the faith that sometime in future, something that you have not seen, that has not come to reality, will drop on your lap as an opportunity. You need to prepare yourself through humility. If you go into a workplace and you know it all and you feel you've arrived, then you might miss it. The mindset, the cap that you need to take into your workplace, even as a new entrant, somebody who is just leaving university, is to have a mindset of learning and growth. I'm going to go into this job to learn and to grow. And the only way is to be humble to learn. And by that, you find that you're growing in such a way that you are able to be ready to take up opportunities as they come. So the Bible tells us that as we walk through our lives in James 4:10, that we should value humility by presenting ourselves as a cornerstone of faith. We must be humble in recognizing that we are not superior to others and that we need the grace of God every day. We are moving on by His grace on a daily basis.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. So basically, humility applies to the issue of willing and readiness to learn and to put
Yes.
yourself out there. Don't think you've arrived. Always be ready to learn. Always be ready to learn. Because one of the things I've come to realize is that even when it comes to learning, at that point in time, what you are learning, what you are putting yourself through, you may not actually see them being fruitful. But sometime down the line, in the future, you found out that the things you learned 5-10 years ago now comes to play in that season of your life. A very dear popular man of God used to say that the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. The opportunity of a lifetime must be seized in the lifetime of the opportunity. But how do you seize the opportunity of a lifetime when you are not even ready or prepared? So it means that at every point in time, be ready, because that opportunity you've been praying for, the time is coming at the fullness of time that God will bring them your way. So when He brings them your way, will you be ready? So one of the ways to be ready is to develop these skills, these marketable skills, these employability skills, so that when that opportunity eventually arises or appears, you can seize them in their lifetime without missing out on those opportunities. May God help us in Jesus' name. Now, let's take this further and let's talk about someone who is feeling stuck, stuck or overwhelmed in their career growth. They're feeling I've been in this spot for a while. I'm not moving. Things are not moving along. What advice would you give such person? How can they untalk themselves in quotes? How can they
Okay.
come out of the rut and move on in their lives?
Okay, so when you say somebody's stuck, so I want to assume that there is a challenge in terms of employability skills. That's what I want to assume. And as far as I'm concerned, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to rise up again. So the most important thing is for you to now give yourself, a good talking to say, I'm here now. What has kept me here for so long? And those are the things that when we do our coaching, these are the things that we talk to our clients when they say that they are stuck and they can't move. Really, what is it that is challenging? What is it that is the problem that is keeping you down? And then we now can help them to say, how do you see where you want to be? Most time it's about their mindset. It's about how they see themselves, their belief systems. So what is it that is holding them down? Now, if you are able to find that out, then you can now start mapping out possibilities. And we've said it all through this conversation to now. You can have a mentor, you can reskill yourself, you can diversify your technical skills, you can add, you can branch out from where you are now. There's so many things that you can do, but the worst thing that you can do is to stay there in the rut. And what you're going to be doing is just to be moaning and to be being more frustrated. You must take a step out of it and you must begin to move forward out of that situation. The more you take a step, the better you feel and the better you're able to see clearer where you want to be.
Wow, golden words, golden words. So basically, we're saying that the role of a mentor, and that's one of the things I've picked. If you're feeling stuck or in a rut, talk to someone you think can advise you, and be real to yourself. Don't be untrue to yourself. Emotional intelligence, want know basically what is causing the rot and be willing to address it, right? Don't bury yourself, your head in the sand and feel it to go away by themselves. You have to be intentional and deliberate in making sure that you get out of the rut. Yes, you can pray, you can talk to God, but there is a part for you to play and there's a part for God to play. And as you do your part, God will do his part. God will not do for man what man can do for himself or herself. So be intentional in taking those steps. So it means that what she has said basically is that you can always get yourself out of the rut with God on your side. You can take the necessary step and you can say, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore. And she has said it. Brush up your skill, branch out of your current maybe sector where you are, acquire additional technical skill, broaden your horizon, right? Spread your tentacles, and then before you know it, you can trust God to bring you out of the rut. So the question I want to ask is that, is there a stage where you can get to and you can stop growing or acquiring these skills? Is there a level you can get to in your
No,
career where you feel, oh, I have arrived, I really don't need these skills anymore, I have gotten to the top of my career? Yeah.
you only get to the top of your career when you have made so much money and you don't have to work for a living. That's what I feel. Because if you say you have arrived and you are not growing and you are not, how do we call it? You have a possibility of being stagnated on the same grade or being retrenched, then there's a problem. What you need to know is that life, what we call life, there's lifelong learning. We are made to learn. We cannot stop learning. So if the moment you say you've arrived, that means you have so much stashed away that till the end of your life, you don't need to work, you don't need to do anything. Or even if you're running your own business, you have to be creative, you have to be innovative, you have to struggle to make sure that ends meet and to be ahead of competition. So there is no time in life. Maybe when you reach about your 70s or 75, then you can totally retire or something. But ideally, a lot of people still continue to work till their 70s, except they have enough that will give them a good retirement. I'm not sure whether I've answered that question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma. Well, I agree with you, but I also believe that, like some people, some school of thought believe that the day we stop learning is actually the day we die. We start dying.
Yes.
The day you stop learning is the day you start to die. And so, if we bring that into this conversation, I believe that there shouldn't be at any point where one will feel, oh, I have arrived. I feel that we need to continue to learn. I mean, we've seen people, I think KFC, for example, started his business in his 70s, right? So I feel that even in our 70s, we can still add value to life. But how do you add value when you're not adding value to yourself? There are a lot of people that more potentials are revealed, that a lot of things that God has put inside of them continue to be revealed even as they grow, even in their lives. So, yeah, I feel that, yeah, we cannot 100% say I have arrived, not at any point in our, maybe when we leave this side of eternity as believers and we are in heaven, we have attained the stage of perfection. We can say, oh, yes, I have arrived. I can sit back and I can look at myself and say, I don't need any other thing. Even it's not about money, it's about value, purpose, right? And if you're going to fulfill the purpose of God for your life, we have to continue to learn, because some purposes will be unveiled in the morning of your life, some will be unveiled in the afternoon of your life, while some will be unveiled in the night of your life. The Bible says that we have not yet known what will be like, but it knows that when he appears will be like him. It means that you and I, we are bundle of mysteries and possibilities. And so the more we learn about ourselves, the more we have to learn to equip ourselves to fulfill our purpose. Thank you very much. We have a question here, but before we go into the question that we have here, somebody says, what is okay, so the next question I want to ask that, so people are watching this and we have few minutes to go, and my question to you next will be that, how do what is one practical step that someone in the house will take today and say, I want to start improving my employability, my marketability, whether as someone who is in the early stage of my career or in the middle of my career or even at the top of my career. What is one step that you will advise someone to take, one definite step to take today to get better in their career or in their business, in their skills?
I think the most important thing is know yourself. Sit down seriously and say and assess where you are in terms of employability. And do that diagnostic, self-diagnostic, and decide on what you want to grow as a person and how you want to grow. And put down a plan. Simple plan. It doesn't have to be something complicated. Simple plan on how you want to move forward. And take each of those plans one at a time and see how you begin to implement them. I think you need to sit down and evaluate yourself. It's not business as
Fantastic.
usual.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So it's important to be true to yourself and be real to yourself. A lot of people believe, some people, let me not use the word a lot, some people believe that, for example, communication skill, let's take that for example. Some people may feel, oh, but in our family generally, it's general thing, we don't know how to talk to people. And then they sit down in their comfortable corner and they keep giving excuses and say, but that's how all of us talk in our family. That's just the way we are. You don't have to stay the way you are. If you're going to get from where you are to where God wants to take you to, you must be willing to grow. You must be willing to do the
Yes.
hard thing. Yeah, you must be willing to get uncomfortable so that you can get to the top where God has for you. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that
I
thought.
just
So
wanted to
somebody,
add something
yes,
before.
go ahead, ma'am.
The easiest place to start is in your church. You have a lot of activities in church that presents itself that you can be of service and you're growing yourself. I remember, I think that was 18 years ago, they were asking for a Yoruba interpreter in church. And my husband said, He didn't even tell me, just told the pastor. I said, I think my wife can do it. And the pastor called me. And the pastor called me
Okay.
and I said, you know, I couldn't say no. You have to obey authority. I said, okay. How I was going to do it, I didn't know. But I tell you, doing that for the past 18 years has given me opportunity to stand. It has helped my work. It's actually
Yeah.
the foundation of what I stood on to be able to
Which
stand in
is
public
confidence.
and to
Yeah.
speak.
Public speaking. Mm.
Public speaking ability skyrocketed because as the pastor is speaking, I'm picking it up and I'm relaying it. So you see, you have opportunities in your church. You need to uh, present yourself for God's service in areas that you feel you want to enhance your skill. Just serve God using those things, and you see how it will work for you.
So in other words, put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. Don't be comfortable in the corner where you are very comfortable. Usually growth comes from when you're uncomfortable. Growth is very
Yes.
uncomfortable, I tell you. It's very, very uncomfortable. But the end result is what they experience. It's worth all the uncomfortability you might go through as a person. So we have a question here. The question says, is there a difference between growth mindset and self actualization? Is there a difference between a growth mindset, and a self actualization? That's the question. You want to
So
give it a
self-actualization, I think, comes from Maslow theory, where you believe that there's a place of attainment that you have
yeah,
achieved, that you have gotten there,
your
and
potential. You
you're
have realized your
yes,
potential.
you have realized your potential. But growth mindset takes you beyond that to say you can continue to grow and elevate that actualization that you have gained. You can so continue to how do you call it, top up that and begin to expand that zone of your actualization. So growth mindset acknowledges that there's self-actualization, but it expands it to make you better and to make your desire even bigger. Expand your desire more as to where you want to be in terms of self-actualization.
Yeah.
So
Thank you
I
very
won't say
much. Yeah.
they are different, but they complement each other.
Yeah. And I think for us as believers, God is not looking at us, He's not looking to us to self actualize. I feel that for us as Christians, we tend towards more of a growth mindset, because
Yeah.
God expects us to always get better, become better. That's why He said, be perfect. It means there's always something you have to work on until you come to the knowledge of the full stature of Christ. Self-actualization is won't get you to the full stature of Christ. It is the growth mindset that will get you to a full stature of Christ, which is God's desire for His children. So for us as believers, yeah, all those psychological theory, they are relevant in the workplace, but you have to find a way to balance your um workplace experience with what your faith is talking about. There has to be a balance, which is what I think as believers, we have to look at. Thank you very much, Ma. And so what would be your closing thoughts for tonight to the people in the house?
Like it's your destiny is in your hands. You mold you mold where you want to be. The mistake we make is we blame the society, we blame the government, we blame our parents, we blame institutions. But if you have as a young adult, somebody who is even from the undergraduate stage, you have a mindset of where you want to be and the things that you want to do to achieve it. You start pursuing it even from university.
Hmm.
So your growth, where you want to be, your employability skills is in your hand. Don't be distracted. There are many distractions around. Stay focused.
Thank you very much, ma. Stay focused. Stay focused. But I think that before we go, let's have this conversation for the next 1 or 2 minutes. You know, we are so much we're speaking about employability and marketable skill today. And I'm thinking, so there are fewer jobs out there. So if we have put, let's assume that we put 100 people on a table for maybe a couple of jobs, how do Christians ensure that they are the top candidates?
You have to position yourself as such. Let me just give you a small example. Okay, so when I was in HR, we were trying to bring in graduates into the system, and there was a gentleman that came from university, straight from university. They were all straight from universities, and then we interviewed him. And I asked him, I said, so what is it that you can offer as coming into the bank? He said, number one, he can mentor people. Number two, is a good teacher. Number three, he writes poem. So I told him, I said, okay, one of your poems, can you talk about your poem? Recite a poem. You know, the moment he opened his mouth, the passion that he used to express himself, he was like a real poet. And that took all of us in the interview. Then he told me that when he was in school, he was teaching all his colleagues for a fee. So he mastered a topic, a subject in school, and he became a master of it for others. Look, we recruited this guy, and I'm telling you, he didn't stay 6 months because other companies
Some
picked him
agencies
up.
poached him. Yeah.
Yes, we had the Accentures that picked him up. Now, do you know the beauty of his story? He's the only graduate in his family. Others have not gone to school. So that's where I'm saying it is in your hand. You can determine where you want to be in terms of success in the workplace if you put your mind to it.
Thank you very much, ma. And to sum it up today, I just want to say that everybody is going to have first degree, master's degree. Some people will even have PhD. But
Yes.
what I'm beginning to see in the marketplace that is going to distinguish you from others are your marketable and employability skills, which is why our youth in the church, in the body of Christ, you need to do more. You need to stand out, just like Madame has said. You need to stand out. You need to take the bull by the horn. You need to take your destiny in your hand. Don't say because, oh, my parents sent me, for example, they sent me to private university, or I got a first class, automatically job will be waiting for me. Go the extra mile. Brush up your skills. If you have to volunteer, maybe the first 1 year you leave school, volunteer. If you have to go do internship, do unpaid internship, do it. If you have to take advantage of the various opportunities in church, take advantage of them and weave them into your CV so that you have better opportunity, ahead of your colleagues. I'm praying that we will receive wisdom, we will receive sense, like they say in today's world, so that we can really position ourselves to be up there. And I want to say a big thank you to our guest on the show tonight, Mrs. Abiola Orojo, has been my guest today. She's an HR specialist, she's a consultant, and she has really done justice to the topic. We want to say a big thank you, ma'am, and thank you for accepting our invitation to being on this show with us. I'm praying that God will continue to keep you, elevate you, and use you for his glory in Jesus' name. And for every audience who has been in the house today, all the audience, the participants, those that have been active, I want to say a big thank you. You've been a very active participant today, and I want to say thank you again for being part of this show. and for being part of the episode 14 of Chat with PMK. By the grace of God, at the last episode that we had with Reverend Mike, we had a conversation on let's talk about sex in marriage. And we agreed we were going to do a second part of that conversation. And to the glory of God, we will be bringing Reverend Mike back at the next episode on May 17th to talk about the part 2 of that same topic of let's talk about sex in marriage. And I'm hoping that all of you will be here. We have more people join us, and together we can be blessed. So, from me to you, thank you again for being part of this show, and God bless you. See you at the next edition. Thank you, Mrs. Orojo, and thank you, everyone, and God bless you. Bye, and see
Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.